A small piece of red bunting, such as is used in the ensigns of ships, was fluttering at the lower branch of a small tree, fastened in a way to permit it to blow out, or to droop like a vessel's pennant. Now that Mabel's fears were awakened, June herself could not have manifested greater quickness in analyzing facts that she believed might affect the safety of the party. She saw at a glance that this bit of cloth could be observed from an adjacent island, that it lay so near the line between her own hut and the canoe as to leave no doubt that June had passed near it, if not directly under it, and that it might be a signal to communicate some important fact connected with the mode of attack to those who were probably lying in ambush near them. Tearing the little strip of bunting from the tree, Mabel hastened on, scarcely knowing what her duty next required of her. June might be false to her, but her manner, her looks, her affection, and her disposition as Mabel had known it in the journey, forbade the idea. Then came the allusion to Arrowhead's admiration of the pale-faced beauties, some dim recollections of the looks of the Tuscarora, and a painful consciousness that few wives could view with kindness one who had estranged a husband's affections. None of these images were distinct and clear, but they rather gleamed over the mind of our heroine than rested in it, and they quickened her pulses, as they did her step, without bringing with them the prompt and clear decisions that usually followed her reflections. She had hurried onwards towards the hut occupied by the soldier's wife, intending to remove at once to the blockhouse with the woman, though she could persuade no other to follow, when her impatient walk was interrupted by the voice of Muir. "Whither so fast, pretty Mabel?" he cried, "and why so given to solitude? The worthy Sergeant will deride my breeding, if he hear that his daughter passes the mornings alone and unattended to, though he well knows it is my ardent wish to be her slave and companion from the beginning of the year to its end." "Surely, Mr. Muir, you must have some authority here," Mabel suddenly arrested her steps to say. "One of your rank would be listened to, at least, by a corporal." "I don't know that," interrupted Muir, with an impatience and appearance of alarm that might have excited Mabel's attention at another moment. "Command is command, discipline, discipline, and authority, authority. Your good father would be sore grieved did he find me interfering to sully or carry off the laurels he is about to win, and I cannot command the corporal without equally commanding the sergeant. The wisest way will be for me to remain in the obscurity of a private individual in this enterprise, and it is so that all parties, from Lundie down, understand the transaction." "This I know, and it may be well, nor would I give my dear father any cause of complaint; but you may influence the corporal to his own good." "I'll no say that," returned Muir in his sly Scotch way. "It would be far safer to promise to influence him to his injury. Mankind, pretty Mabel, have their peculiarities, and to influence a fellow being to his own good is one of the most difficult tasks of human nature, while the opposite is just the easiest. You'll no forget this, my dear, but bear it in mind for your own edification and government. But what is that you're twisting round your slender finger, as you may be said to twist hearts?" "It is nothing but a bit of cloth, a sort of flag, a trifle that is hardly worth our attention at this grave moment. If—" "A trifle! It's not so trifling as you may imagine, Mistress Mabel," taking the bit of bunting from her, and stretching it at full length with both his arms extended, while his face grew grave and his eye watchful. "Ye'll no have been finding this, Mabel Dunham, in the breakfast?" Mabel simply acquainted him with the spot where and the manner in which she had found the bit of cloth. While she was speaking, the eye of the quartermaster was not quiet for a moment, glancing from the rag to the face of our heroine, and then back again to the rag. That his suspicions were awakened was easy to be seen, nor was he long in letting it be known what direction they had taken. "We are not in a part of the world where our ensigns and gauds ought to be spread abroad to the wind, Mabel Dunham," he said, with an ominous shake of the head. "I thought as much myself, Mr. Muir, and brought away the little flag lest it might be the means of betraying our presence here to the enemy, even though nothing is intended by its display. Ought not my uncle to be made acquainted with the circumstance?" "I no see the necessity for that, pretty Mabel; for, as you justly say, it is a circumstance, and circumstances sometimes worry the worthy mariner. But this flag, if flag it can be called, belongs to a seaman's craft. You may perceive that it is made of what is called bunting, and that is a description of cloth used only by vessels for such purposes, our colours being of silk, as you may understand, or painted canvas. It's surprisingly like the fly of the Scud's ensign. And now I recollect me to have observed that a piece had been cut from that very flag." Mabel felt her heart sink, but she had sufficient self-command not to attempt an answer. "It must be looked to," Muir continued; "and, after all, I think it may be well to hold a short consultation with Master Cap, than whom a more loyal subject does not exist in the British Empire." "I have thought the warning so serious," Mabel rejoined, "that I am about to remove to the blockhouse, and to take the woman with me." "I do not see the prudence of that, Mabel. The blockhouse will be the first spot assailed, should there really be an attack, and it's not well provided for a siege, that must be allowed. If I might advise in so delicate a contingency, I would recommend your taking refuge in the boat, which, as you may now perceive, is most favorably placed to retreat by that channel opposite, where all in it would be hid by the islands in 1 or 2 minutes. Water leaves no trail, as Pathfinder well expresses it, and there appears to be so many different passages in that quarter that escape would be more than probable. I've always been of opinion that Lundy hazarded too much in occupying a post so far advanced and so much exposed as this." "It's too late to regret it now, Mr. Muir, and we have only to consult our own security." "And the king's honor, pretty Mabel. Yes, his Majesty's arms and his glorious name are not to be overlooked on any occasion." "Then I think it might be better if we all turned our eyes towards the place that has been built to maintain them instead of the boat," said Mabel, smiling. "And so, Mr. Muir, I am for the blockhouse, intending to await there the return of my father and his party. He would be sadly grieved at finding we had fled when he got back successful himself, and filled with the confidence of our having been as faithful to our duties as he has been to his own." "Nay, nay, for heaven's sake, do not misunderstand me, Mabel," Muir interrupted, with some alarm of manner. "I am far from intimating that any but you females ought to take refuge in the boat. The duty of us men is sufficiently plain, no doubt, and my resolution has been formed from the first, to stand or fall by the blockhouse." "And did you imagine, Mr. Muir, that 2 females could row that heavy boat in a way to escape the bark canoe of an Indian?" "Ah, pretty Mabel, love is seldom logical, and its fears and misgivings are apt to warp the faculties. I only saw your sweet person in the possession of the means of safety, and overlooked the want of ability to use them. But you'll not be so cruel, lovely creature, as to impute to me, as a fault, my intense anxiety on your own account." Mabel had heard enough. Her mind was too much occupied with what had passed that morning, and with her fears, to wish to linger longer to listen to love speeches, which in her most joyous and buoyant moments she would have found unpleasant. She took a hasty leave of her companion, and was about to trip away towards the hut of the other woman, when Muir arrested the movement by laying a hand on her arm. "One word, Mabel," said he, "before you leave me. This little flag may, or it may not, have a particular meaning. If it has, now we are all aware of its being shown, may it not be better to put it back again, while we watch vigilantly for some answer that may betray the conspiracy? And if it mean nothing, why, nothing will follow." "This may be all right, Mr. Muir, though, if the whole is accidental, the flag might be the occasion of the fort's being discovered." Mabel stayed to utter no more, but she was soon out of sight, running into the hut towards which she had been first proceeding. The Quartermaster remained